I mean, since we have a small group today, it'll kind of be like whatever you guys want to know about stuff. But today's panel is kind of about like the art of voice acting itself and what the job is like. If you want to know more about my work in specific, I'm going to be doing a Q&A panel tomorrow where we can talk about that. Today is kind of just like, a lot of people probably want to know how to get into the field, tips and tricks. Also going to let you guys come up and read some stuff. So
that's fun.
So does anyone here, have you been interested in being a voice actor or maybe thought it would be something fun to try? Okay. So, yay, welcome. So I will say that voice acting is a really, really difficult field to get into. I know a lot of people think like, well, it's easy, right? You can just like talk and you can do whatever, and it's actually super, super competitive. There's thousands of people right now who are either doing it or want to do it, and so it's just a really it's not an easy thing to do. You have to invest a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of practice, which, that being said, you can start doing it as a hobby online. That's how I personally started. I used to be on a site called Newgrounds, and I would just email a bunch of animators being like, hey, I can do a female voice if you want me for your Flash movies and things like that. So, I think starting online as a hobby, especially if you don't live where the work is a really good way to get started. Most of the work is either in the Los Angeles area or in Texas, either Dallas or Houston. If you want to do anime, Texas is a good place to live eventually because they have Funimation in Dallas and Sentai in Houston. Those two places are actually pretty far apart from what I'm told, so people kind of work for one or the other.
I take it you're California-based?
Yes, I live in California, so I do all my work there. The reason that I chose California is because there's a lot of video game work there as well, and doing games, I love any kind of work that I do, and I love anime as well, but games are my passion to work on, so California is more expensive to live in, but I just really wanted to do games and stuff, so I moved out there. That being said, there's a lot of hobby work you can do from home if you're really interested in getting into video games. Indie games now are casting all over the world. I'm trying to think of some good examples because a lot of my friends cast and direct indie games. This one's kind of not safe for work, but if you guys know Honey Pop, yeah, we all did that stuff from home. They cast and recorded people all over. I think there's even a girl in England, I can't remember, but so if you have a good home recording setup and a good recording space, you can do a lot of stuff. You can't really do a lot of console games, and you definitely can't do anime remotely, but there are a lot of things you can do to get started. And the thing that's cool about the market now, even though it's so much more competitive, indie games are paying now a lot of times. Because when I first started and I was doing this stuff as a hobby, I didn't get paid for any of the stuff I do. I kind of think of it like interning, you do all your stuff as a hobby. But now that, there's Indiegogo, that's still a thing, I don't even know, Kickstarter, Patreon, all that kind of stuff, then people are raising money to make their games and to make their projects, and a lot of them are paying the people on their team, which is super cool. There's a lot of debate in any kind of creative field about whether to do things for exposure, and when you're doing this as a creative professional, I think you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm not going to do a project for exposure unless it interests me. But if you're just starting out, you're trying to get your skills, you're still in training, all that kind of stuff, I think it's okay to, go and help out independent content creators, because sometimes people just simply don't have the means to pay anyone because they're doing it for fun or whatever. The stuff that I used to work on, I would do Smash Brothers Machinima and stuff like that, and nobody was getting paid to make that kind of stuff at the time, so it was just sort of everybody helping each other out, and then you get the credit, you get the experience of recording, of working with a director even remotely, that sort of thing. So does anyone, I want to know what you guys want to know, so does anyone have any questions in general about how the field works, how auditioning works, anything like that?
I'm curious about auditioning, because I know, I thought about how cool it would be to do this kind of thing, but I never had the time to really apply. So I'm curious to see what the application process is.
Okay, so that's actually one of the hardest parts, I think, because a lot of times there aren't open submissions. You have to kind of you know, you have, just like if you're a film actor, how you have like, you know, your headshots and your visual reel and stuff like that, as a voice actor you have your demo reel. So it's like a minute-long thing of the different types of characters that you can play, essentially. It doesn't have to be from stuff you actually did, so if you know, haven't been in a ton of stuff, that's okay. There are people who will produce a demo reel for you. Obviously do your research and don't make one till you're ready, because otherwise you're just going to be spending your money in something that's not competitive. But basically, you want to get on the rosters of different studios who cast games, cast anime, things like that. For example, the company that first gave me an opportunity is called Bang Zoom Entertainment out in California, and they do a lot of anime dubbing, they do a lot of video games, just a lot of stuff localized from Japanese to English. So I kind of like, you know, got in their talent pool after I moved to California, and then I started getting referrals to other places from there. Because unfortunately a lot of the stuff is word of mouth. If you guys were at Sungwon's panel this morning, he said the same thing, that a lot of his voice opportunities came from, you know, people being like, oh hey, like I saw your stuff and you're pretty great, do you want to be in my project? That sort of thing, or people referring their friends. So I think, you know, being like a nice person, I know that's like really obvious, but I think if you're just trying to like be a nice person, just be real with people, be nice to people you meet, and you never know where those opportunities can take you. As for the actual auditioning process, a lot of auditions are done from home these days. So if we get cast for a show or game, we have to physically go in studio to record the part. But a lot of these companies have projects going non-stop. I know Funimation out in Texas, they're doing the simuldub, so they've got things just going 24/7 there essentially. So they may not have time to, you know, set aside studio space and time for, you know, people to come in and record and direct them and all that. So a lot of times you have to be able to audition on your own. The nice thing is you can do it on your own schedule. A lot of times they'll say turn this in between like 24 and 48 hours. So you can kind of, you know, do it when you're free. I like to record at night because I'm nocturnal, so that's when I'm like most energetic and stuff. And then also, you know, but you need to have a good setup at home to send in these auditions. I mean, you hear about people sending it from their phone if they're like traveling and it's an emergency, like quick turnaround thing, but generally that's not ideal. I actually have a full-on recording booth. It's something that I invested in last year because I do a lot of work from home as well. So just having that booth is super helpful. Unfortunately, my cat seat has a giant cat tree because it's carpeted on the outside. But just being able to like know the basics of recording and editing at home. There's a free program called Audacity. I still use it, to be honest. I highly recommend it because it's very easy to use. There's a lot of people who say, well, but industry standard is Pro Tools. Well, if you're not an audio engineer or a mixer, Pro Tools is like, I wouldn't even know the first thing about how to use that, and a lot of other people wouldn't. So you don't, that's overkill if you're starting out. You know, just something like, get something like a Blue Yeti to start out with and practice, like $100, something like that. And, you know, just record yourself on your computer, get a nice pair of headphones so you can hear what you're doing. How many of you guys have like heard yourself on like a video or someone's voicemail and you're like, ew, I sound like that?
I started.
Pretty much everyone. Spoiler alert, that doesn't really go well. But you kind of have to get comfortable just hearing your own stuff, because if you want to do this, you have to be able to listen critically to your own work and say like, okay, you know, because sometimes we think we're putting a lot of energy into a line, for example, and then we hear it back and we're like, oh, that didn't have as much power as I wanted in this attack yell or whatever. So it's good to, that's a learned skill that you're just going to be able to do over practice. And that's one of the challenges, honestly, recording auditions from home, because you have to self-direct. When you're in the booth, you have a director who knows the show or game inside and out. They're able to, you know, because they're hearing you rather than you hearing yourself, and, you know, you're not always an objective listener, they're able to hear it and say, okay, I want more of this or less of this or whatever. But, you know, when you're doing that yourself, it's kind of hard because you don't necessarily know what they're looking for. So, you know, there's one studio that still does in-person auditions, and whenever I go there, sometimes they're like, oh, that's great, but can we just age her up a little? The client wants her younger or whatever. And it's like, wow, if I had recorded that from home, I wouldn't have booked it because I didn't know they wanted her younger or whatever. So, you know, it's definitely a trade-off, whether it's an audition you go in for or an audition from home. But if you're working with somebody who knows your voice really well and knows what you can do, and your audition is good, but they're like, we just want to do this other little thing with it, they might either give you the part because they know you can do it, or they might give you a call back and say, okay, send another one. Like, one time I was auditioning for a young boy role, and I didn't end up booking it, but they were saying, okay, we like what you did, can you make him like a little deeper and gruffer? And it was kind of hard and like painful to do it, so I'm fine with not booking that. But, you know, sometimes they want to see, like, is this something you can do or sustain? So, does anybody else have questions? Yes?
You were just kind of comparing the roles back and forth a minute ago. Once you've like booked a gig, have you, it's a two-part question. Have you ever done concurrent gigs, like where it's back-to-back, when you're recording one day, you're recording this character, one day you're recording the other? And if so, is it difficult to get into the headspace, especially if you're working from your residence, from your home? Is it difficult to get in the headspace of, I don't know, 2B versus, Kira from Talking Around, but just to use those two as an example.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something you get used to when you play a lot of different character types. For example, sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 sessions in the same day, so I'll have to, you know, be able to switch pretty quickly, and I think it's when you get into the zone for one character, and then, you know, that being said, if you're playing like 2 characters in one session, you're not going to go back and forth. You're going to do all of one character's lines, and then you'll do all your lines for the other character. I do a lot of mobile games, and in mobile games, they typically don't have fully voiced dialogue, so you're doing, you know, maybe 6 lines per character, but you're doing like 4 characters. And we'll just do all of one, all of the other, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I think doing it that way, it's pretty easy to separate them. In terms of, you know, getting used to playing different character types, I know actually when I booked 2B, that was really hard at first because I don't normally play that character type. I mean, that's what people know me for, but I usually play like a lot of tsunderes, a lot of like really bratty teenagers, a lot of sarcastic kind of characters. I mean, 2B has a little bit of sarcasm, but she's more flat emotionally as her baseline, so it was actually a challenge because I always want to go big, but that's not her character most of the time to go big. So her emotional scenes were actually some of the easier stuff to record, and it was just the, you know, being able to flatten it out but not sound boring. There's an art to doing monotone voice work, honestly. Yeah, same for Edna.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, because she's very like flat and deadpan with a lot of her lines, but she still kind of has that snark, and you know, it's the whole balance of we don't want her to sound like one note or boring, but we need to stay in character. And that's another thing why having an awesome voice director is really helpful, because they can kind of make sure that you're within the parameters. A lot of times when you're working on a localized project, you'll have some of the Japanese clients sitting in, or you know, people from the localization team to kind of like supervise things and just make sure, you know, so if the voice director needs clarification on context, or they're saying, okay, where is this sound going to be played, or can you clarify this thing in the story, they're there to help. A lot of people are very intimidated. When I recorded Detective Pikachu, I think there were like 6 clients from Japan sitting in. When I walked in, I was like, oh, okay. But you know, it's like, you just have to forget that people are there and just be in character, because you know, you got cast for the part, so they liked something that you did. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm actually a visual artist, but something I've come across when I look for work, and also when I talk to other artists in different fields, such as voice acting, is figuring out how much you should be paid. And with voice acting, I know that you're not just doing it, it's not like with the visual print, you sell it and you get the money back. It's more of kind of like if you're doing a book where you sell it and you get royalties. So when you do voice acting, do you get a flat fee? Do you get a royalty? Does it depend on the job?
It's a flat fee, hourly rate, because if you go in studio, you're booked from usually like 2 to 4 hours for an anime or game session at least. In California, the industry standard is you get paid a 2-hour minimum, so even if they just need you in for 30 minutes, you get paid the 2 hours, which is nice because if you're, you know, one studio I work at is like an 1.5-hour drive each way. So if I'm going out there, it's not worth it if I were just getting paid for 30 minutes, but because I get the 2-hour minimum, it's like, okay, counts as like a 2-hour session regardless. Sometimes if they know it's going to be a short session because of the 2-hour minimum, places will book you for a lot of characters. Again, with mobile games, that's why, you know, you might be playing 5 or 6 characters in certain mobile games. I just did a really cute one called Food Fantasy, where I played like 4 of the food souls. Super cute. And I was going to say as well, oh yeah, as far as royalties, that was a thing that people tried to get started with the video game strike. It didn't happen. That being said, voice actors who do like really big name commercials and stuff like that, then they can get like royalties because of SAG. But for like anime, for video games, stuff like that, like, no. It's just, you know, we get paid for doing the session. It doesn't matter how little or how much the game sells.
Oh.
Anybody else?
This is more just a general localization question, but I've been thinking about how sometimes people data mine like deleted scenes or whatever from there that obviously weren't going to be there even in the Japanese version. But like for example, Dawn of the New World has some skits that reference a certain character being dead, considering that you could take that path in the original Symphonia, right? With Yosuke too, and some social link aspects with him in Dawn of War. So I'm wondering, like, do you do that? Do dubs of high-profile-ish games like that? Are they done at the same time as development of the Japanese games, or?
It really depends on the project. There's some things like I just did a game called Shining Resonance that just came out, and I think it was something where the Japanese version was released like years earlier, and then they finally localized it. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong, but
yeah, it was like an updated re-release from a PS4 3 title, got from PS4.
But stuff like Nier, for example, where the release was only 2 weeks apart, we were like just getting the voice samples from Japan and, you know, hearing it and stuff. So it was like really close in timeline. So it just depends. Whenever you're localizing, you'll usually get to hear the original voice so that you can kind of stay in that same ballpark. I think now, especially with things like anime, localization companies are more conscious of the fact that, you know, fans do know what the Japanese voice sounds like. They care about it being true to the original. They care about the voices matching and not being like weirdly jarring if you've heard the Japanese voice and then you hear the English. So I think there's a lot more, you know, thought that goes into that now. Sometimes if it's a game with a ton of dialogue and they don't have a lot of time for recording, you won't get to hear the Japanese voice, but a lot of times you'll at least get to hear it at the beginning. Like Danganronpa, we didn't get to hear a Japanese voice for every line, but at the beginning they would play like a sample of it, so we're like, okay, this is where this character sits, and you know, we had people directing us and things like that. And that's another thing. I think voice actors get a lot of hate, English voice actors, because people will say, well, why did you play the character like this? That's, you know, in the Japanese version they were like this or whatever. And it's like, you know, when we're doing a job, we're doing what we are told to do, and sometimes, you know, maybe they make certain choices in localization or the way the script is written that portrays the character in a certain way, and that's not up to us. Things like name pronunciation, not up to the voice actors. So, you know, largely we're just kind of being, you know, we're trying to fulfill the vision that everyone on the team is giving us and saying this is what we want. So I think it's important, you know, it's totally valid to like complain about a dub or say, I want to watch her play this in Japanese. That's cool. There's stuff I prefer to play in Japanese too. But, you know, I think also realizing that there's a lot of people that go into making those decisions for how something is localized. So it's not like they just throw us in the booth and we get to do whatever we want and we're just trying to ruin your media. You know? Yeah.
Like a don't blame me, blame the director kind of thing.
Well, I wouldn't even say like blame, because sometimes things are just choices, you know. For example, sometimes with name pronunciations, because I know that's a big complaint, they will just say, okay, well, we know, like, you know, I speak a bit of Japanese, for example, so I always want to do, like, the, you know, the R's and, like, all that kind of stuff, like, pretty, like, authentic sounding, but sometimes they'll be like, well, you know what, for everyone in the cast saying this name, it's better if we just make it, like, a little bit more Americanized or whatever. So, you know, it's, like, not, just stuff like that. It's not, like, a bad choice for localization. It's just that we don't get to call the shots on that kind of stuff, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. Wait, I think we had a question in the back, actually. You had your hand up, right?
Yeah, so you mentioned that you go physically into the studio and then it'll be a drive. How important is physical location for this job?
very important, depending on the types of media that you want to do. Like I said, there's some stuff you can do from home, some indie and mobile games, some like, you know, narration, some smaller scale commercial kind of stuff. You know, there are people who live wherever and they manage to do that sort of thing. But if you want to do stuff like anime or stuff like video games, it's really, really important to live where the work is. That being said, I always tell people don't move before you're ready, because a lot of people they don't have a lot of training, they don't have a lot of acting experience, and they're like, well, I'm just going to move out to Texas and work at Funimation. It's like, no, you need to be a trained actor, you need to have your demo reel set, you need to, you know, they're not just going to like let you walk in and be like, I want to be a voice actor. So the biggest thing that I tell people, and that I'm sure like Dave and the other guests and anyone that you talk to will tell people, is that you have to be an actor. A lot of people say, I have a good voice, or I can do impressions, I can sound like all the DBZ characters. And that stuff's fine, like if you've been told you have a voice for radio or whatever, like that's cool. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you will be a great voice actor or that it will be something you like to do. Because voice acting is first and foremost about acting. So vocal type, like the things you can do with your voice, that does play a part, obviously. If you don't sound like age appropriate for the character, or you don't match, like your sound doesn't match at all with what the character looks like, then yeah, obviously. But it's bringing the characters to life, making them believable, that's what's going to get you the part. So I always tell people, you know, even if you don't live in a place where the work is, take any kind of acting classes, school, community theater. It doesn't have to be a voice-specific class, because the main thing is just learning how to play a character. And even if you're learning that with body and movement, you can still translate kind of, you know, getting into a character's head into voiceover. There are also online voice acting workshops now that you can take. I know there's like the GVAA does them. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, but I think training is really, really, really important, because if you just go out there and try to be like, I'm just going to do it, I mean, you can learn stuff, you can be, I was like, a lot of my stuff was self-taught, but you know, that didn't substitute for, oh, now with proper training I can see what I'm doing wrong, sort of thing.
First rule of art, you can't wing it, no matter what it is, even if people think you can.
Yeah, you can try, but you know, it always helps to just kind of have someone to guide you and say, okay, this is what you need to do. I also run a website called Voice Acting Club. It's voiceactingclub.com. That should be super easy for you guys to remember. We have a Discord server as well. A lot of like projects are posted there for like hobby projects and even a few paid projects, because our whole slogan is connecting voice actors and content creators. We also have a ton of guides and tutorials. I wrote up a huge guide on kind of how to get into the industry in general. I wrote acting guides. I wrote like how to make a demo reel, all that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend that you guys check it out. And before we move on to the really fun part, does anyone else have more questions? Cool. Okay. So I brought some fun stuff for you guys. These are basically made-up audition copy from, I do some workshops on my Discord server, and we kind of go, one of them is RPG voiceover, so we kind of go over like, how do you voice act for an RPG? What's the process like? That sort of thing. So I printed these out and brought them so that some brave people can come up and you can try reading these lines, and I'll give you some feedback and direction. And, you know, again, if you get feedback and direction, don't take it personally. It's all about, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot to think about when it comes to this. So, do we have any volunteers? Oh, wow. Well, you're in Edna costume, so I'm going to do first.
Yeah.
No, but I saw a bunch of hands go up. I was like, oh, okay. So you can look through. We have a few different types here. Just pick something that you maybe think fits your vocal type, or something that you'd like to try.
I bet I have a terrible time with deep voices, so.
And I won't be focusing too much on vocal sound for this. We're mainly going to get kind of the acting down and the attitude.
I think, yeah, I like the mage.
Okay, this is the fun one.
Heck yeah.
So to give you guys an idea of how this looks, if I can just take that, we have This is actually kind of set up similar to how an actual audition script or in the booth script would be. Paper scripts largely aren't used for actual recording anymore. It's all like an Excel spreadsheet on a screen. But we have, in this column here is context. So this shows like when the line would play if this were an actual RPG. And then the voice line is here. So there's a lot of, who knows what efforts are? Yeah.
Sorry, and then after you get your
Okay, efforts are basically nonverbal sounds, and these are really, really important if you want to work in video games. So it's like attack yells, taking damage, breaths, jumps, all that kind of stuff, all those vocalizations. And all these scripts have these in them because when I do the workshop, that's a thing that we talk about and critique people on. So if you could just do me a favor so everyone else knows what the context is and just say what the context is before you do the line.
Right. Right, enter battle location. Let's do this!
Woo! Awesome. So I'm going to say, just because that ran together a little bit, just try slowing it down. Keep that awesome energy you had, keep it called out and projected, but just slow it down a little so we get the enunciation.
Yeah, I'm the fast talker. Let's do this!
Yeah, do you guys automatically see how much more professional that sounded just by slowing down and enunciating that? Good job. Okay, what's the next one on there?
Alright, enter battle, low HP. I can still fight!
Good. I liked how you put that sound at the beginning because it kind of got you into that zone. Can you add even a little bit more injury in the line, like, you know, sound like you got, maybe you're kind of like bleeding out or something. It's not really graphic, but it kind of helps people put that pain in there.
Right? I can still fight!
Yeah, so you hear that physicality in it and how much more believable that sounded.
Mm-hmm. Alright, this is for assist. Leave it to me!
Yeah, good. No notes there. That was good. Helping out a teammate, nice and cheerful.
Right? Revived. That was yummy!
Good. Now, that was wonderful, but imagine that you just drank something really good and then give me that was yummy.
Right?
Think of like your favorite drink or whatever.
For sure. That was yummy!
Yeah, very cute.
Thanks. Alright, so this is for level up. How do you like me now?
Good. I'm going to say slow it down just a little bit and then make it like you're really proud of yourself. Like I think a character like that, she's almost to the point where it's a little obnoxious. Not too much, but just really confident and enunciate.
Right, for sure. How do you like me now?
Yeah. So you heard like the first one, it was good, the first take, but this sounded, it had kind of like that almost like smarmy little like smile to it.
Yep.
Love it.
Turn me right into a brat.
I play a lot of brats, so.
Yeah. Good job then. Alright, normal attacks. Ha! Ha! Yeah!
Yeah, those were all really good. I'd say since those were kind of about the same intensity, try giving me a small, medium, and a large, because that's the thing that they'll ask you for sometimes.
Yeah. Ha! Ha! Ha!
Awesome, yeah, good variation there.
Yeah. Alright, super attacks. Full power! I'll finish you!
Okay, so let's take these one at a time. They're both listed in the same thing, but I think it'll be easier. So for the full power, same thing, let's try slowing it down a little bit and then just keeping it strong all the way through. And if you want, I know this sounds silly, but I do it all the time, other actors do it all the time, physicalize it like you're, you know, throwing out this big burst of magic or something.
It's not silly because that's exactly what I've been doing.
Sweet.
Right. Full power! That didn't sound right.
Let's try it. Just make sure you're not pushing it from your throat. You can even make it a little less loud if you need to. And then start with the power should be the strongest part of it. So increase in power throughout the line like a crescendo.
Right. Full power!
Good.
Right, and for the I'll finish you. I'll finish you!
Good. I like that one.
Thank you. Alright, for charge attack, I'll show you my magic.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's make it even a little more like kind of that show-off thing you did earlier. So keep it happy and bouncy and cute, but with a little more like, oh, let me show you what I can do kind of feel.
Right? I'll show you my magic.
Good. Let's try one more where you don't emphasize the mind.
Right? I'll show you my magic.
Awesome.
Right. And damage sound.
Good. Those were actually really good.
Thank you.
A lot of people have trouble with the damage sounds, to be honest.
KO large. No way!
Okay, so for this no way, almost like keep the pain in there, but almost make it sound like she's throwing a tantrum or something. Like it's no fair is kind of the idea.
Yeah. No way!
Good. I like that. And then just one thing, because I feel like you're going to hurt yourself, because I've been there. Don't try to keep it open, so don't like grind. Like when you said way, you did like this way thing. So try to like, you can put the pain in there, but do it with your breath work and then keep that open, because otherwise you're going to like hurt yourself.
Honestly, I feel it.
Yeah, so let's try that one more time. You can keep the pain in there, but keep that all open rather than grating.
No way!
See,
Great
good,
is hard
and
to
that
get rid
still
of.
sounded painful, but
I felt like the grate was still there actually, but
yeah, well, you can try one more time if you want, but that sounded healthier.
yeah, I don't want to hold people up though. Alright, so KO small. That hurts!
Good, and let's try, because sometimes, especially in mobile games, what you'll come across with these small KOs is they want it sort of breathy and fading out. So try making it a little softer and putting in the breath work like you just can't do it anymore.
That hurts!
Okay, yeah, that's good. And then let's try one more, because you're really good, so I'm going to
Oh,
be
thank
picky.
you.
One more thing, just try like fading it out throughout the line so it gets even weaker until it's kind of a breath at the end.
Okay. That hurts.
Good. Awesome job. That's
Yeah.
Come up and go first.
Oh, there's
Oh, there is
yeah.
more. Okay. Generic dialogue in this. What we have in this, you guys probably know if you've played games like, Danganronpa or Fire Emblem or, anything that's like has a lot of partially voiced stuff. Sometimes you'll just have generic phrases that your character says. And these Octopath, that's another game that I played some characters in that I was just playing, and they have a lot of this. The character will say something like, "How do you do?" or whatever, and then it's used in a bunch of situations. So that's what these are for. We can take them one at a time.
Yeah, I still have no idea why face got written in that name support. Alright, anyway. Alright, General Vector.
Good. Yeah, knowing how to laugh on command is really good for these types of characters.
Alright. How's it going?
Good. Let's try one more that's just a little bit more neutral in case it's a very casual conversation.
Alright. How's it going?
Good. Perfect.
I'm bored.
Let's drag out the board a little bit more and just kind of slow it down.
Right? I'm bored.
Good.
Nah.
Yeah. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, awesome job.
Thank you so much.
Who is next?
I appreciate it. I need to ask about lunch with the Jimmy Johns. Yeah, what do you want?
And just a side note, you guys can use the same character as someone else picked. That's totally fine because everyone has a different approach to it.
Thank you.
It's always fun. If you need help, let me know. Oh my god. Here, I'll put them out. So this was the mage character. This is the young boy merchant. This is like a pirate chick, elf princess, dark evil queen. That's what we have for these guys so far. Okay,
I'm a
that's
princess
fun
now.
Yay! All right, so same thing, just kind of, you can just read the context before so that the audience knows what it's for.
Okay. Enter battle rotation. It's my turn.
Awesome. So with this one, I just really want to hear that you're kind of, you're confident, you're ready to support your team.
It's my turn.
Good. You guys hear how much more presence that had?
Enter battle. Low HP. This is getting tough.
Good. I totally felt the pain and injury in your line, so no notes there.
Assist. Are you okay?
Good. Sound even a little bit more concerned for them because, you know, one of your teammates is like almost out of HP.
Are you okay?
Great.
Revived. I'm all right.
Wonderful. Because, you know, with that, you sounded like you were getting back on your feet. That breath that you put in there is so good.
Level up. I feel more in tune with nature now.
Good. Let's try one more and make it even a little bit more happy and peaceful feeling.
I feel more in tune with nature now.
Wonderful.
Normal attack.
Okay, those were good. Since they were all, and this is a trap that everyone falls into, they were all like huh and huh. So let's try varying up the sound a little, like maybe like a huh, a chua, and a yeah, or something like that. Just play out with the sounds a little bit. Yeah, huh. Awesome. I think the middle one kind of squeaked a little bit, so just give me a nice medium yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Super attack.
Take this! Okay, so for the take this, let's put some more power into it, physicalize it if you need to. So for the this, imagine that, you know, you're either like slicing something with a sword, you're casting a magic spell, whatever weapon you decide. Because here's another secret insider tip. Not really, but you know. Think about what weapon your character is using when you're doing attack stuff. If you're attacking with a sword, it's going to sound different from if you're casting a spell, if you're using like a big axe, if you're using like a staff, if you are, what's some other stuff, like a knife, if you're using fists, like all this stuff kind of sounds different. So by thinking about and physicalizing what you're using, super helpful. Take this! Good. Now, you can do one more again. Keep everything really open with your throat. Don't force anything, but just project to the back of the room like you were in theater. Take this! Good.
Payback!
Yeah, like your payback.
Charge attack. Now you've angered me.
Okay, I love that. Let's even feel a little bit more like, oh, you messed up.
Now you've angered me.
Wonderful.
Damage.
Okay, those are good. I think they're a little bit too light and breathy, so let's put a little more of that, you know, again, if you want to physicalize it, like that sort of thing. Let's do a small, medium, large. Good.
KO. Large.
No! Good. Let's try one more and just put even a little bit more of that pain and injury feeling into it.
No!
Good.
KO. Small. I'm sorry.
I love it. Now, just to take that even further, let's try one more where you're like, the I'm sorry, you're thinking in your head, I let my teammates down.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, do you guys hear, just by putting that context behind it and that emotion, how much more powerful that was? So, and then I think it's just the generic
General banter, yeah.
Sure. Good. Let's try, sometimes they want a short and long, so let's just try a little longer one too. Nice. Yes. Good. That's a thing that's really common, is just some neutral sounding yeses.
I suppose so.
Yeah, that's good. Very conversational.
No way.
Good. I like it, because you kept all those, a lot of times for that kind of stuff, the generic dialogue, they want it to be pretty neutral unless they say otherwise, because it's going to be played in a variety of situations. So, you know, a lot of people, when they do this one, for example, they tend to be like, no way! And it's like, okay, but what if it's saying, oh, hey, do you want some coffee? No way! It's silly. So, you know, this is a thing that, again, is going to be used in a lot of situations, and just rely on them for context. But yeah, fantastic job. You guys are so good. I thought I'd have to do a lot more here.
A lot of fire endings, you know.
Yeah, but you know, that's super helpful, and that's something that I still do, is like
That's fair,
play
yeah.
games, listen to what this stuff sounds like, because that will help you a lot. Like, you know, I play a lot of fighting games. I used to be like a competitive Smash player and stuff like that. So.
Wait, listen?
Not much. I play Guilty Gear, which is same creator, but
Dang. I'm trying to get back to the competitive.
nice. So I feel like, you know, that's a lot of how I learned to do efforts, for example, was just because I play so many video games, and so I would just hear what everything sounded like, all the attacks, all the damage sounds, jumping, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys, you know, play games, you can play them in Japanese or English, it really doesn't matter. I think playing or watching things in both languages is really good, because that way you're kind of hearing what you would have to dub if you were you know, doing something from Japanese, and then you're also hearing what's getting cast for the English performances. So I think it's kind of good to watch and play and listen to a lot of things, both dub and sub, that are coming out. You are next. Yes? Well, you had your hand up.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you are. Here, other side of the room.
Okay. Should I stay on the side? You want me to?
The scripts are over here, so
Okay.
if you want to find a script that you like, and again, it can be something somebody else did.
I can do this.
Yeah. That's another thing, by the way, especially for women and stuff like that, if you can do like a young boy voice, that's super, super marketable, because they don't, for most of the time for things like this, they don't cast actual children. You're seeing it more for maybe like movies or like really big commercials and stuff like that where they're casting kids. But a lot of times it's just like they don't want to do it. So if you're an adult female who can do a young boy voice, that's so good. I get cast for young boys like all the time, and learning how to do that was so, so helpful. Another tip for that, a lot of people, I don't know what you're going to do, so I'm just giving this as a general tip in advance. A lot of people, when they're doing boy voices, and I used to make this mistake, they think really hard that it has to be raspy, and it doesn't have to be raspy. If you listen to actual young boys, it's more about the way they phrase things, like the cadence of the speech, the enunciation that sounds different. It doesn't always have to be like an Ash Ketchum sort of.
Like Ash Ketchum.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone does. They're like, well, I gotta sound like Ash Ketchum. But if you listen to like a, go on YouTube, listen to like a 12-year-old boy talk or whatever. You know, it doesn't always sound like that. So you don't have to force it. You can. It's more just like the way the guys talk and stuff like that. You know. So, all right, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
You'll do great. It's all right. You're gonna do awesome.
Okay. Greeting.
Welcome. Awesome. So this is like if you're a merchant, you're in the shop. Let's do one where you're calling out to somebody as they enter your shop, and you're happy that they're coming in because they might give you money.
Good. Okay.
Welcome. Awesome. I love it. Yeah. Don't be afraid to go big with a lot of these.
Alright. Player looks at items. Anything catch your eye today?
Nice. I love it. Let's do one more where you really want to make that sale.
Anything catch your eye today?
Good.
Suggest upgrades. That sword looks pretty small and flimsy. You're not gonna get very far with that thing.
Let's do this one because this is a funny line. Let's do one where we take that even further, where you're kind of making fun of them because they come in with this crappy, like little, imagine it's like a little plastic toy sword almost they get when they start the game, and you're like, wow, you know?
No. That sword looks pretty small and flimsy. You're not gonna get very far with that thing.
Yeah, I loved how you kind of put that laugh like into the line. That's something that directors will ask you to do a lot. They'll say, okay, put a laugh into the line, put a sigh into the line, that sort of thing. So, awesome job.
Okay. Out of money. Oh, whoops, sorry. Looks like you don't have quite enough for that. Come back when you've earned a little more.
All right, let's we can slow this down a little bit to get the enunciation, and then, you know, again, let's just take it a little bit further where you're almost kind of like, huh, you think you could come in here with like 1 rupee or whatever and buy all this stuff?
Whoops, sorry. Looks like you don't have quite enough money for that. Come back when you've earned a little more.
Good, I love it, like it.
Theft attempt. Hey, get back here!
Wonderful.
Attack after theft. You'll be sorry! Ah!
That was fantastic.
One angry shot.
Hurt by player. Ah! You're not supposed to hit me!
You weren't expecting them to fight back, so you're kind of like, oh crap, and you're just really like, imagine you're like running up, you're like, okay, I'm sorry.
Ah! You're not supposed to hit me!
Great, I love it. cheerful, because imagine the player comes in and they're very clearly injured from battle.
Right. This'll fix you right up.
Great.
Player leaves. Come again.
Good.
General banter. How many?
Good.
Thanks.
Yes, let's have one even a little more cheerful because they just bought something from you.
Thanks.
Good.
That'll be...
Okay, let's try one more where you're kind of, the idea is that it shows the numbers on screen, like how much it comes to, but obviously all that wouldn't be vocalized, so it's kind of leading in. So imagine you're saying like, that'll be 500 rupees or whatever the currency is.
That'll be...
Perfect.
And that's it.
Awesome!
He looks like Rivali from Breath of the Wild.
Yes, my friend's voice is Rivali, by the way. So I will say with this one, there's virtually no such thing as going too big. So have a laugh. Oh boy, it's gonna make everybody laugh.
Go for it, Alex.
Do it!
Sarah would cheer you on if she was here.
Greeting. Come in!
Okay, take that even further. Imagine like you're calling out to them. As
Calling out.
Yeah.
Greeting. Come in!
Okay, so you started with this great like flourish, but then it kind of tapered off at the end. So just fully commit to it all the way through. Give you a big come in. As a,
Come in!
Good. Yeah.
I'm going to be inserting as many puns as I can.
Excellent. Nice. Excellent. Perfect.
Oh, we weren't kidding. Oh my god. I cannot wait to get to that attempt.
Yeah.
Player looks at items. May I interest you in something rare?
Good. Now let's again have it even a little bit more fun with that. You can slow it down and for the something rare. Do you know like Resident Evil, like the merchant who's like, hey, like what do you buy? Like think about that, like you're kind of like, I got some rare goods here. Yeah, just really have fun with that.
Okay. May I interest you in something rare?
Yeah, you know, physicalizing it helps, like we said.
Like more. Suggest upgrade. What a sad and small-looking weapon. Surely you want to trade it in for a better model.
Yeah, I like that. Let's have one again where you're just to hear what it sounds like, where you're just going like full on just making fun of them. Like let's imagine this, like the player will look at this character and be like, man, that bird's a little shit. Just really, yeah.
What a sad and small-looking weapon. Surely you want to trade it in for a better model.
Great.
Okay. Oh God.
Which one is this?
Out of money.
Oh.
You're gonna need some more gold if you expect to get some of these.
I love that. Let's see. This is just like kind of a technical note because it's something they'll ask you to do a lot in studio. If you could like kind of project a little bit more, like if you think like the same way you support things when you're singing, like supported from your diaphragm, and that way you can call to the back of the room. Yeah.
Sorry if I'm too loud, anybody.
Not too loud. Have fun.
You're gonna need some more gold if you expect to get some of these.
Yeah, I love that. I really felt like he was mocking.
A mockingbird, perhaps?
Oh.
You guys think that's bad? That's attempt.
Oh no! This is the one everyone loses it on this course.
That's got this pure gold. This is cause for alarm.
That's great, but let's go again even bigger and just make everyone laugh with this one. Okay, this is like you've got all this really rare, expensive stuff. Like imagine your cosplay supplies, or you know. It's really important and expensive, and somebody just is like, and they just try to walk away with it, and you come out just screaming at them.
This is cause for alarm! I just remember watching a thing where Mark Hamill, who would voice the Joker, would like always get into it too. So,
Yeah.
Attack after theft. How dare you!
Great, I love it.
Hurt by player.
I didn't do anything wrong.
That was really funny. I love that sense of mocking. Can we just add a layer of like injury too? Because they're like, yeah, you crappy bird, and they're like, oh crap, because you have a sword in the picture there, but you can't fight. You sell weapons. You don't.
It's like slaps group of sword.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Great.
Okay, give healing potion. Man, this is the most normal sounding of all of them. Give healing potion.
This'll have you back out there in no time.
Good.
Okay. Player leaves.
Come again.
Good. Have it put a little bit of smile on it and just call it out even more as they're leaving.
Come again.
Yeah, there we go.
And then general banter. We won't read that. General banter.
How many? Thanks. That'll be.
Good, yeah. You said you wanted to try fast attempt again now that we kind of know.
Get over it.
Yeah, because that come again that you did that last one, that's about where he should sit. So I think in that big range there.
This is cause for alarm.
Yeah, there we go. Great job. All right, who? Let me just see how we got 8 minutes, so yeah, you want to come up? Keith. Yeah, this is a fun one.
I chose the Dark Queen.
Ooh.
So enter battle rotation. No time to waste!
Wonderful. Let's make it a little more, I think she's very commanding, she's very in control of herself, so she kind of knows, imagine you come in and you know you're going to win this battle, because it's some crappy little enemy.
There's no time to waste!
Good, there we go.
Enter battle, low HP. How infuriating.
Good, and now imagine that not only are you physically injured, but your pride is a little injured because you didn't expect that this enemy was going to be so tough.
How infuriating.
Right?
Assist. You called?
Good, and let's almost make this one a little bit seductive.
You called?
Good.
Revived. Thanks.
Good, and let's try with this one, almost like you're a little almost embarrassed that you had to ask a teammate for help, but you don't want to show it.
Thanks.
Good. Very snarky, I love it.
Level up. I shall rise up even higher!
Good, I love it. And let's, because this is said like after a battle, let's, you can slow it down a little and make it calm and grounded, so still very strong, but imagining you're kind of like, even if you need that posture of a queen.
I shall rise up even higher!
Great.
Normal attack. Ah! Ha! Ha!
Good.
Super attacks. Repent!
Good.
No mercy!
Good, I love it. Now let's try one more of the no mercy, where imagine this is somebody who you've been just wanting to destroy for the longest time, like your worst enemy, and you're about to land the finishing blow on them.
No mercy!
Good.
Charged attack. Embrace your fears!
Good, and then for this one, instead of having it so called out, let's see, she's very like calm and in control of herself, but she's kind of like, haha, you've done it now, that sort of deal.
Embrace your fears.
Good. And then sometimes I'm gonna do this exercise with you because this is just sometimes a thing that happens in like RPGs. Is sometimes for the callouts they'll have time constraints where they'll say like, okay, we can't go over this length or we can't go over the length of the original Japanese. So the challenge is to make it a lot faster but keeping the same emotion and intent. So if you can try one more and just make it faster in case that were a thing, let's try that.
Embrace your fears.
Good. So you kept that same feeling but tightened it up.
Damage. Ah! Ah! Ah!
Good. Let's try some of of them just sounded a little bit more like breath than pain. So let's, use that diaphragm support and kind of do like an ugh, or something like you're getting punched in the gut. See if you can put a little bit more of that like injured feel into it. Physicalize it however you need to. Great. Yeah, there we go.
KO large.
Ah! Okay, so let's, with these, it's always really tough, but the best way to make it kind of sound real is to start big and then let it fade out and kind of go into a breath at the end. So you can start with kind of like a yell or whatever volume level you feel comfortable with vocally, and then by the end it'll be kind of like a, like that sort of thing. So let's see how that works. Ah! 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, that was a lot better.
KO small. Never.
Good, and let's try the same thing with this where we kind of fade it out into a breath.
Never.
Good, yeah, that sounded more injured, yeah? So, oh, and generic dialogue probably, huh?
Yeah, general banter.
All right, so I think that was a little bit too like cutesy and cheerful for her. So again, this is kind of like a seductive, like toying with prey type of laugh. Let's play it that way. Good.
Go on.
Good. Kind of. Let's have this where it's almost like whenever the player is talking to her and kind of saying, "Okay, well, I can make this deal with you."
Go on.
Good. So this would be in general conversation, so I think we can make it a little bit less. Good.
Out of my sight.
Okay, let's have the feeling for this one like they're just a worm beneath you. They're not even worth your time.
Out of my sight.
Great. Love it. Fantastic job. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left, so I don't think we have time to do any more of those, but does anyone have any last-minute questions now that you kind of saw people read? And you guys saw, like, right away how just, something as simple as maybe slowing it down or, adding some physicality, you guys heard how much that changed the read. And so those are all things to think about when you're doing voice acting, especially for games. So does anyone have any questions that they wanted to bring up? Yes?
How many times have you had to re-record something because one of your cats is screaming?
So, Jareth, if any of you guys follow me on Twitter, one of my cats, the pumpkin spice one, is like really fluffy. He loves, there's nothing more he loves when I'm in my booth and doing a really important audition than to come in. Very cute, but at the same time, it's like I'll be doing this, this take, like something like that, with like out of my sight, or something. If I'm sending an audition for like a Friends project or something, sometimes I'll leave it in as a joke or an outtake. Like I was doing, if you guys watch FF7 Mission Bridge with Team 4-Star, I was doing some stuff for that, and Anthony was directing me over Skype, and he was like, "Oh, we got to do that again. I heard Jareth." And they scratch at the outside, because I have this soundproof booth now, which was very expensive, but they kind of scratch at the outside. And then when I had 2 little foster kittens, they would go up on top of the booth. They would go all the way on top.
Any last minute questions?
Yes.
This is more of a general question, since I think you said that you ran the voice acting club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what happened to Voice Acting Alliance?
It went poof.
Yeah, I know. It just disappeared one day.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason we kind of started up the VAC again, was because the Voice Acting Alliance went down. There wasn't really a good place to connect like indie creators and aspiring voice actors that you didn't have to pay for. And there was a couple other sites trying to start up, but they had their guides behind a paywall, and I was just not about that. Like, I have a ton of guides on VAC that are all free. They're all like, the kind of stuff I touched on basically in here, because I'm like, hey, everyone deserves to have this. I have a Ko-fi, and I put my Ko-fi link at the bottom, so if you like them and want to buy me coffee, I always welcome that. But again, free for everyone to access. So voiceactingclub.com, very easy to remember. A bunch of the posts are pinned, including our Discord server, and hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much for coming.